Broadcasting from our subterranean studios in beautiful Paradise Valley, Pennsylvania, it's Business and Brain Tumor Talk, a unique show with topics to educate, inspire, and implement. Without further ado, here's your host, Rick Franzo.
Welcome, everybody, to Business and Brain Tumor Talk. I'm your host, Rick Franzo. Yes, broadcasting live from our subterranean studios right here in beautiful Paradise Valley. Today, I have the pleasure of having Chris and Lindsay Jerolaman, the owners of CJ's Heating and Cooling in beautiful Wind Gap, Pennsylvania, with us today. Welcome.
Hello. How are you?
We're good. I'm good. So we're all having cocktails today. So this is going to be a cocktail podcast, I think, business podcast, right? The end of a very fruitful and eventful and sometimes stressful day.
Yes, business leads to cocktails.
Dumpster fire week.
Business leads to cocktails. Should that be like that? Should be like a promo for. I'll rework that in there. Business leads to cocktails.
Definitely a good T-shirt.
For sure. I don't know if you want your team to be wearing that while they're, but it's a good idea. We'll expand on that when we're talking about marketing. So CJ's Heating and Cooling has been in business for how many years now?
6.
6 years. Wow.
Yep. 6 years in June.
Wow. So what led you both to becoming entrepreneurs? What did that path look like?
Honestly, I got tired of dealing with my boss and quit and opened the business the next day. So I've been doing this for like 20 years. I started as a helper in new construction, kind of worked my way into running a service van, and never really felt like I was appreciated anywhere I was working. So I just, I don't know, kind of got fed up with that. Lindsay was tired of me working until like 8 o'clock every night and then taking more calls. And one place I was at, I literally worked 48 hours straight.
For 3 years.
Not 48 hours straight for 3 years.
Well, no, but you were on call for 3 years.
We couldn't
do anything.
It just got to the point where I said to myself, if I'm just going to do this all myself anyway, I may as well make money from it. At least that was the thought process going into it. And then at the last place I worked, I didn't agree with the service manager or the ways that they handled their customers. I didn't feel like they had very good customer service. So we got into a little bit of an argument over the way they were handling a customer, and I dropped my truck off that night, and we opened CJ's the next day.
And so it was really a couple of things, right? It was a lack of respect that you were receiving or not receiving at your places that you had worked before. And so the culture was not really what you enjoyed working with. And you decided to step out on your own and take that leap of faith and, move into the space of entrepreneurship, whether you wanted to or not. It was just kind of the thing to do. You had enough of having enough.
Yeah, pretty much. And I know how to fix things, so I figured I could run a business, and that was eye-opening after the first, 6 months or so. But
gotcha. No, that makes a lot of sense. So when you started, I'm going to go to Lindsay. How scary was that when you started a business?
Oh, very, very, very.
Very.
Like,
right.
You're starting off, so nobody knows who you are. You got to make a name for yourself. So you're literally just like, you're just kind of like, oh yeah, I want to come into your house and I want to play with your furnace.
CJ, who the heck is that?
Yeah, and we dumped everything into opening the business. So our credit is just now starting to get fixed up a little bit from dumping everything into it because we were late on bills. We did, have a repo and, it is what it is. But we, stuck in there and kept strong and just kept moving forward with it.
So basically you burned the ships at the shore and there was no going back. If there were bridges, Chris crossed them and then you burned them up, Lindsay, right?
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there was really no going back. So, common with entrepreneurs that they put pretty much everything that they have. Passion doesn't pay the bills, right? But a lot of people go into entrepreneurship for similar reasons. So if I'm understanding correctly, um, you just went into it because you didn't want to work for anybody else. You didn't find it satisfying, and so. But you had other things. You had a house. You have kids, right? How many kids do you have?
4 between the two of us.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
And so that's a burden right there of having kids and having to provide.
Mhm.
Yep.
Basic things. I just had a conversation. It's the mindset. You've got to put food on the table. So you're pretty much in the beginning. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you're taking what you can get. So it's not like you're in a position of leverage, but you're in a position of, yeah, I'm glad to have this business, and I'll take whatever it is you give me.
Yeah. Now we're at a point where we can say, okay, this is a job we really don't want to stick our toes into, or this is just a customer that's it does not fit us. It does, So we are at that point now where we can do that, but in the beginning, we couldn't do that.
No, beginning I had my.
Is a
Uh-oh.
ruh-roh.
Ah, are you there?
Yeah, we just we stuttered a little bit. Go ahead and say that again.
Yeah, we experienced a black hole.
Yeah.
What was I saying?
I don't know.
See, that's what happens.
See, that's what happens when we have cocktails and podcasts, and so.
This is still my first one.
All right, we're not going to get into how many drinks you have per day, Lindsay. That's not that. This is a podcast, not an intervention. So
Yeah,
we're not going to go.
Yeah, even if you try an intervention, I'm pretty sure it's not going to work. But
I'm pretty sure that you're correct, and so we're going to move on from that. So when it's a process, we take kind of what it is, but now you're in a position where you can actually say no.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's
right.
a pretty good feeling. Yeah, that's a good feeling, but it's kind of hard fought for. And 6 years, 7 years, 6 years you've been in business, right? 7 years,
Yeah, 6.5.
Yeah.
6.5. So I mean, so many businesses go out in the first year or two, and then by year 5, the ones that have hung on, not because they weren't good, not because there wasn't talent, but because it's really hard to wear every hat. It's hard to leverage things off. It's hard to lead a team. It's hard to be the expert in sales, be the expert in marketing, do the books, right? Engage in the entire customer experience. So you have to be a jack of all trades, but an expert in all, not none, in all, right? So what are some of the things that you've done over the time when it was just you both? How soon was it until you could take on another employee?
Actually, it was fairly quick.
Yeah.
Because right when we started, I was a Cub Scout leader. So one of the other leaders worked for a big builder. A fairly big builder. They build like 10,000 square foot, like $1 billion houses. And they were having issues with their HVAC person. So he had me come and interview with the owner, and I impressed him enough that he let me do a couple of houses. So I had new construction jobs almost immediately. So I had to, I can't hang ductwork. I mean, I can do it by myself, but it's labor intensive. And
Sure.
Lindsay doesn't help much when it comes to stuff like that.
So I was able to pick up a helper pretty quick. Now, it took 6 years to find a good helper and, one that actually knows what they're doing. But now we've got, 4 people. So
yeah. Well, and that goes to, again, now I worry not just how to keep my family fed. Now I'm worrying about everybody's families. So it's one of those, just either way, it's just going to bite you in the ass. But it is what it is.
It's a huge responsibility to really have the burden, okay, and I'll use the term burden of keeping the wheels moving so that not only you are successful, but your team is successful and their families are successful, and there's kids involved and there's mortgages and things like that. So there's a lot of responsibility that lands on a business owner, an entrepreneur, and a lot of people don't realize that that's part of the deal, part of the dynamic. And so and it's too much for them in a pretty short amount of time. It's a huge weight to carry.
It is. It's a big weight to carry.
It is. I can't tell you how many times over the last 6 years I've said, you know what? Screw it. Sell it all. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm out of the country. I'm leaving.
Wait, didn't I say that yesterday?
Yeah, I think so.
It might have even been this morning. I'm not sure.
At one point, it was almost every day. So
yeah.
But we never do. We just keep on trucking.
Yeah.
And you keep on trucking, right? So it's not as frequent, but it does happen, right? So growth is not linear. It does go in peaks and valleys. We just have to make sure the valleys aren't so low that we can't crawl out of them, and the peaks aren't so high that we're kind of struggling for oxygen and we get nosebleeds. So we try to keep things as linear as possible, but that isn't really a goal. It's just to keep consistent, right?
Yeah.
So when you started your business and where you are now, and I know that there's slower periods and busier periods, do you see much of a dip during a certain time of the year, or has that kind of gotten a little bit better, or is it been a little more even?
So we almost every year anyway, experience a slow period, we'll call it. Towards the end of January, February, and March. March is always our worst month, mainly because everything that's going to break already broke for the winter. Everyone already got their tune-ups done. There's nothing to really do there. You can't really start air conditioning stuff because it hasn't gotten warm yet. No one's really thinking about it because you haven't had any hot days. So we kind of take that time to do projects around the shop. I have the guys come in and I need an outlet here. I need an outlet there. This light needs to be replaced. These shelves need to be built, that sort of thing. But last year was exceptionally slow. And mainly because of the weather. That's what I chalked it up to. Every HVAC company last year took a big hit in the first quarter. It was bad. And I looked back at the weather because I was looking at it the other day because I wanted to see what I had coming up. I always look a year and 2 years back in our previous call volume to see what I have coming up, essentially. And last year, the temperatures were like 40, 50 all winter long. So nothing broke last year. Yeah. In previous years, it gets slow, but it wasn't nearly as bad as last year. So we're trying to get ahead of that this year. We had a couple of promos that went out. Booked some jobs already for that slow period. So just to kind of keep the ball rolling while that's coming in. And we'll see how it works out. It's the first year we're doing anything like that. So.
No, from what we've seen, it looks like it's going to be pretty successful. Let's talk about not the front end where all of the the work is done, but with the customer, but on the back side of it where Lindsay and Holly is working with you. Really, that's the heartbeat of what happens in the business. That keeps everything moving. And so talk a little bit, Lindsay, if you wouldn't mind, about what it takes to, kind of get the kids ready for school, right? And come in and, do the customer experience and, run the books and run the shop and everything while everybody is out working and still maintaining that family life balance. Sometimes it's good. Well, balance is something. It's kind of a state of mind. So balance is interesting because I was doing a panel discussion one time and somebody said to me, I was talking about balance, and somebody in the crowd, right? She's a great person. She's a great friend now, but I didn't know her then. And she said, Rick, and she was married. She had a 2-year-old, so you can imagine where the frustration was coming, right?
Yep.
Terrible twos. And she said, Rick, you're talking about balance. Is that just like a buzzword? Is it bullshit, or is it a real thing? And I said, well, Allison, let's talk about that. So balance can look different to different people, right? So there's not any kind of hard and fast rules on it. And so if we're, finishing the day and everything is looking kind of status quo and you've got a plan for the next day, that's a good balance. If you've got chaos, that's not good balance. So it's kind of how you mitigate the good days and the bad days, because you're going to have them, and control what you can control. And things like the weather, what Chris was alluding to before, you can control. So how do you kind of adjust for that? So talking about the office, how does that all work?
So
That's a loaded question. You want another glass of wine? Because we can pause while you pour one.
Holly's actually here. She's waiting to be picked up.
Holly's here.
Okay, good enough.
So when I hired Holly, I was actually doing everything: answering the phone, scheduling the calls, doing the back end work. And it got to a point, my mom got sick. So there was like days that I was here for maybe an hour a day because I had to drive her everywhere. So that's when I brought Holly on. And it's not as bad now, but it is still like, there are days where I'm only here an hour. And when that does happen, I have to come in like weekend and I have to catch up because I'll never catch up. And like, I'm still actually a little behind from with my mom, but like I'll do all of my stuff, and I do like our percentages for our jobs. Every single job I do a percentage for see how we're doing profit wise, and if there's like, okay, well, we had to go back here this time, we had to go back and do this, we had to go back and do this, we couldn't charge, where are we losing our money? And then like my customer service, customers are bread and butter. And if you treat them like shit, they're not going to call you back. So every call, every person that we went to, they get a thank you card, they get referral cards in there. So if they put our name out and we get a card back, depending on what they
refer us to do is either, a service call or an install, they'll get a $20 or $50 gift card when I get to it. Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, like I use a website that it's better for me to buy in bulk for the gift cards than it is, to just here and there and everywhere. So I just kind of wait a few months and I do them all at once.
We get our own personalized gift cards.
Yeah, they have our logo on them, and I can write whatever I want on the cards and stuff like that, which is really cool. Installs, depending on the price points, they get, a coffee box, which Holly can set those up. She can mail them out. We have a thing here that we can mail them out. Or, if it's the upper end price point, they get a coffee box or a wine basket or a coffee basket, whichever they prefer. But like I have mugs made for the coffee baskets. I have these actually made for the wine baskets. So, and my girl hand delivers them. And that is like the biggest thing that you could do, when it comes down to customer service. I can't tell you how many phone calls I get when we do them.
Oh, thank you for the basket. Blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah.
Yeah.
Holly actually gets a lot of them, and then she doesn't want to take the credit, so she makes sure Lindsay gets the phone.
I'm going to give a shameless plug, okay, because our whole house got brand new mini splits installed by CJ's Heating and Cooling this year. We got the coffee basket, hand delivered, phenomenal. The mini splits are the best investment that we made because the house is so comfortable. We've gotten some pretty cold temperatures and some pretty hot temperatures. And so It's been a phenomenal experience. The guys that came over were top notch. No problems. Everything was professional. It's like they weren't even here. And, it was well worth the investment. We're saving money on our energy bills. And so, shameless plug, right? This wasn't planned, but it's the way people should be doing business, is the way that you do it. So the back end is really just as important, even more than the front side of the business for the technical things, right? Because without the backside and everything that's going on behind the scenes, none of this would happen.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Well, even here, like Holly and I keep the showroom. We decorate the showroom. Sometimes I can con a kid to do the showroom, but it doesn't always work. And then sometimes when they do it, I should have just said no and done it myself anyway. But we keep all of this up. It's a lot for two people to do. So I've been contemplating a third, but I'm not sure yet. I'm just, I don't know.
We'll see what the new year brings, for sure, right? So
I'm going to be in a building soon if I do that, though. We're going to grow up real fast.
What are some new things that we're thinking about doing for 2025? Is there anything that, even things that you've done before, what are some of the concentration going to be for the new technology that's out there, or things that people are really seeing, maybe transferring from old style heaters like oil burners to different, energy efficient platforms? What are you seeing out there?
Heat pumps. Everything's going to heat pumps.
Okay.
The technology in them has grown so much over the last even 10 years. It's ridiculous. They went from being, like something it'll work down to like 35 degrees and then you're on straight electric. Nowadays, I have heat pumps that run to negative 13 degrees and still give you 100% of the heating capacity out of them. They're amazing. There's new heat pump boilers coming out. They've been around in Europe for a long time, but everything's slow to get to the States. It's ridiculous. But they're going to take the place of boilers in houses. Oil is kind of going away, but they're introducing biofuel, which is a whole different animal, but it's not energy efficient. It's eco-friendly. There's all kinds of technology with natural gas, there's boilers that are almost 100% efficient.
New
refrigerants coming out. Well, sort of. The United States just decided that the refrigerant we've been using for the last 20 years is not eco-friendly enough. So they're allowing us to use other refrigerants that are mildly flammable, which means the building codes all had to change. It's been ridiculous. The last 6 months have been crazy. I've been studying my butt off trying to figure it all out. But the new refrigerants that we're allowed to use are much more efficient. The equipment's going from, not to get too technical, but, like a top of the line unit 10 years ago was 16 SEER. Nowadays, we've got 22 SEER, which is 16 is the minimum we're allowed to sell anymore.
Wow.
There's a lot of technology coming up, and it's actually a challenge to keep the guys trained on everything. It seems like we get trained on one piece of equipment, and then like 2 years later, it's non-existent anymore, and there's something new coming in we have to go through training on. So that's been a bit of a challenge.
And how much training do the guys go through on a regular basis? Because I know that you have different opportunities for the team to actually keep current and to learn some new things. So we train kind of sometimes or constantly?
Pretty much constantly. My guys, I try to hire a certain kind of person. Like our lead installer, he's constantly watching YouTube, and he's got a bunch of like real high-end guys that he follows and he listens to and learns from daily. We're in several associations, one of which being OESP, the Oil Energy Service Providers. It used to be a network of service managers of people in the area, but it's turned into more of any sort of energy technology, and the companies that service that equipment. So our chapter holds monthly tech trainings where we actually rent out the fire hall. We invite all the companies around to send their technicians. It's like $40 a tech or something like that. We give them dinner. And then we bring in a specialty, like whether we had Bosch there one day doing live fire demonstrations and tech support stuff. We had a whole lesson on combustion analysis. We've had Takeo come and go over all kinds of boiler controls and wiring. We've done low voltage, like we do everything, how to properly maintenance boiler, how to do proper maintenance on a mini split. So we're all about training. The more your techs know, the better off you are. Yeah. All the brands that we sell, we've sent them all to trainings for all of that stuff. Anything that you need to be certified for, like when the new refrigerants were coming out, we were the first company in the Northeast to sell one of the systems with the new equipment or with the new refrigerant in it.
Oh, wow.
Because I jumped on the training almost immediately. Yeah. We actually got...
you mean like TRANE? Was that like, was it train?
No.
Not that kind of train. Okay. So like actually.
Oh, not that kind of train. Yeah, no.
Oh, okay. I thought you were being punny. So that's
no.
Yeah, no.
That's really great.
Yeah. Daikin's been using the new refrigerant for the last 30 years in Europe. So they immediately introduced it, sent the trainings out. I took it, and they brought their equipment over almost immediately. So
that's really great that you guys are on like the cutting edge of things that exist or that are coming and emerging as technologies to help the consumer. That's great. What would you say, Lindsay? Go ahead. What?
We're also in another organization, PHCC, who fights for getting licensing
and
in
stuff like
the state and stuff like that. So like right now in Pennsylvania, you only need a general contractor license. So the same guy that can replace your light bulb can install a gas furnace in your house.
Not this guy. This guy can do a light bulb. I can install nothing. Maybe no, there's nothing. I just thought
they're also very affiliated with all of the technical training schools, the high schools,
and they have their own school that they do,
an apprenticeship school.
An apprenticeship school. However, we've been trying to get them to get an HVAC class together, but they just can't get enough kids in the class.
Not enough companies around want to do continuing training like that. So
the plumbing department.
That trend is probably going to change as the years go on. Let's talk about really quick. Let's talk about some of the giving that you do back to the community.
A lot.
Yeah, whatever comes across our desk.
Whatever comes to us. I just sponsored the toy bingo over at the Wingap Fire Hall.
We're the primary sponsors.
We're the only sponsors.
Only sponsors, yeah.
The only.
I sponsored a purse bingo over there. IU20 down here. Mm-hmm. They it blows my mind. They hold like a Halloween party every year. Last year I gave them $200. This year I gave them $300, and I think they just about they
shit themselves.
Yeah, basically.
That's the most money anybody's ever given them. It's ridiculous. It's $300.
Wow.
Come on.
For IU20, really? Come on. So they put like a big banner up for us and everything, and I was like, first of all, you don't have to do that. And it's like, second of all, I'm to help the kids out. I had a church come in. They were doing an apple festival one year. I gave her $200, and she just about broke down in tears and was like, gave me a hug. She's like, thank you. And I'm like, it's
the least we can do.
Yeah. Really. If I have it and I can do it, I will.
The high school, we do sponsorships for the marching band, the football team.
I do Toys for Tots here every year.
Cub Scouts during COVID. Yeah. During COVID, we did with the Cub Scouts, we did the Hidden Heroes. So like everyone was, making a big deal about, the police and everything and what they do for the community and all that kind of stuff. Well, there was a lot of other people, like our t-shirt maker went into, instead of making t-shirts, she made masks. There were a couple other people. So what we did was we had a whole bunch of yard signs made that said Hidden Heroes. And it was like, the picture of like the soldiers putting up the flag on it and stuff like that. And I would go over there. We would take pictures with them, put them up on Facebook, explain why they won it, all kinds of stuff. We took nominations and run it through the Cub Scouts.
Yeah, Penargil Fire Company was one of them.
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
Yeah, we met a lot of awesome people doing that too, like the cops. Sleep Out Regional. They put up with so much shit up here. So
yeah, we're all about giving back to the community.
That's fantastic. And that's a credibility point. And, you have the boxes there at your office, and it's really important to be part of the fabric of that community. One final question before I ask for your information, starting with Lindsay. If somebody wants to start on a path of entrepreneurship, what would you suggest? What advice would you give them? And not don't, or run away, or set yourself on fire, or nothing like that. What advice would you give somebody? One piece of advice.
So actually, Pennsylvania now has a book as to what you need to do to start your business, which is absolutely awesome. And I fucking wish they had that when we started, because I learned a lot of shit trial by fire. So like sales tax. Who thought? Sales tax. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, there's definitely do your research. Okay. Definitely, get your certifications that you have to get. Research is key.
Get good insurance.
Good insurance is going to cover you. Yes, because we already found that one out. But again, trial by fire. So yeah, like definitely, do your homework. Don't just jump on it, especially like we did. It was ridiculous. But I mean, that book, I saw the book, I looked through it, and I was like, if they would have had this 6 years ago, that would have been freaking amazing. So, but I mean,
you have it now, so that's a good thing. Yeah. So do your research and your advice. Yeah. Your advice, Chris. Thank you, Lindsay.
My only experience is with trade stuff. So like I was kind of saying before, I know how to fix things, but I don't know how to run a business. It's two completely different things. Just because you know how to fix a furnace does not mean that you can run a business. It's tough. Realize that you're going to have moments where you have to criticize people, where you don't really want to. There's a lot more to running a business than I ever really thought that there was going to be. I thought it was going to be great. I buy a van, I go house to house and, fix things and collect a check. That's not the case. But it can also be very rewarding. So I hear. I haven't seen that yet, but
you have. Come on now, that's nonsense. Yeah, that's nonsense. We're going to stop you right there before you go and wallow in your own self. And so, if somebody wants to contact you, how do they do that?
They can reach out to us through the website. All of our contact information is there, cjsheating.com, cjsheatingandcooling.com.
Okay.
Facebook,
we're on that.
I think our thing is at Zone Solutions.
Yeah, I believe it is at Zone Solutions.
When we originally started, all I wanted to do was mini splits, but I realized quickly that was not going to happen.
Especially
what's the phone number?
This area, in this area, you're
phone number is 610-314-1210.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Chris and Lindsay, CJ's Heating and Cooling, for joining us here today on Business and Brain Tumor Talk. I'm your host, Rick Franzo. I hope you enjoyed this, and stay gold.